with her bully stick, her brand new bully stick. Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Ann. Disembodied Hands, Quinty, a very loud puppy, and yeah, Justin, John. Yes. Sorry for the late start, guys. We have a toilet that has started leaking, and I just noticed this. I was trying to figure out how and where and why, and so yeah, that was my delay this morning. And then I was like, OMG, it's time to stream. Yeah, you know, it's that kind of thing. It's not a huge leak. It's just like it's starting, so it's probably going to get worse. So I was trying to figure out what it was, if it was getting worse, you know. Yeah. Well, we've got 3 bathrooms in the house. We have a luxury of bathrooms, so it would be a pain in the butt if the one in our master was breaking. But I mean, I'm sure we can get a plumber in here, and in the meantime, we can walk across the house if we have to. But yeah, so it's still annoying, and it was still like a this morning, so totally distracted me. I think it's the connector hose to the tank, Shadow Raven. It takes a long time to fill up. It looks like a relatively new toilet. Like it's part of the addition that was put in like just a couple of years ago. So I think it's probably where the hose is connecting to the bottom of the tank, because when it's growing right under that hose. So, but then it's the water just kind of gets sucked around the bottom of the toilet by the foot of the toilet by capillary action. So I don't know. We'll find out. I'll just keep observing it. But yeah, don't try to troubleshoot it on stream. It's all good. I'm sure. If it doesn't like actually evaporate, if it stays like a puddle all day, then I'll essentially text David that we need to get somebody in to look at it. You know, I'll take it, Turgeon. I will absolutely take home ownership. After going back to an apartment living with David when I moved here, God, I never want to be in an apartment again. Oh my gosh. Now, I had a very traumatic experience with a neighbor who really didn't like Kiri and who essentially called the office on us all the time, complaining about stuff. Yeah. But that's what essentially stops me from doing an apartment. I think when you have a pet, when you have a dog in an apartment, then you're opening, essentially it's just not a good experience a lot of the time. Somebody will always not like your dog. But yeah. So that is like, yeah, that's it for me. So I do enjoy having a house. Yes, it's a pain. Yes, you have to pay extra money every time it breaks. I get it, but you know, except for the inconvenience. Where are you, Paw? Oh, okay. Are you chewing something you oughta? What are you chewing? Okay, you're trying to destroy your tongue. Why are you trying to destroy your tongue? I just gave you a brand new bully stick. Bully stick. You dweeb. Come on. Yeah, I really don't want you to chew more pieces out of this, my dear. I'm sorry. No, this is a suitable chew. That is not. Oh, pardon me. Sorry. I'm going to take this and hide it away for good. 1 second. Nope, it's gone. It's all gone. Ah. Right, exactly, Shadow Raven. So I'll just let David know. Like if it continues to like grow, it will. I had him look at it this morning so that he would know exactly what it looked like. Yeah, and yeah. Kiri wasn't a barker, but of course she had incontinence, and although I cleaned up after her extremely conscientiously, this lady had it out for us. She just decided she struck me as the type that always complained about that, like she would always find something to complain about with the neighbors so that she didn't have to complain about her own life, which of course was perfect. So because she also complained about the neighbors across from us. Like, about them being too loud, and, you know, she was always ragging on them. Like, they essentially moved out because of her. What are you doing, and what are you... All right, you're done. Bye! Bye, Kiki! Yep, bye! Oh, you're so good! You're so done! Bye! Kiker is just like... She's a devil today. Kiki is the devil. Just want to say. Daffodil for the 40 months. That's a nice round number. Does that mean your subscription is officially over the hill? Oh, dear. But yeah, so, yeah, there's just neighbors. Neighbors are it for me. At least with the house, like, even though our neighbors are close here, we know both of them, and, like, we're house neighbors, which is different. But, yeah. And to be honest, when we did have to get a repair in our apartment, it took forever, was super inconvenient, and was crappy. So, and for the amount of money that David was paying for an apartment, like, no way should it have been that crappy of service, right? So, yeah. Oh. But yeah, Kiki's a demon today. She woke up demonic and she's Cerberus. She's Cerberus today. If she grows another head, I won't be surprised, okay? That's just the way it is. So, that said, now that we have banished the devil of the Keekster, I want to get the gold blocked in with an undercoat, and I want to get his skin and his hair on the road today. And we'll do a carrot top type of red for him today, so we'll do a brighter red hair, which we haven't done in a while, if at all, I think. I tend to think auburn looks better, so I tend to start dark. Usually I start with rich leather, but let's start with NMM Gold Shadow. Or maybe I don't want to. I've gone very dark with a lot of this, so maybe I do need to start with rich leather, because that's going to give my gold a much more, a lighter weight punch. I could get there just by mixing some yellow into this, so maybe I'll do that. Yes, 2 heads to chomp with, exactly. Oh, of course, Agent Marvel. Exactly. See, exactly. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm just not a fan. Like, if I have to move in, eventually someday I'll be forced to move back into an apartment or something when I get older, but I'll just have to deal and probably not have a pet at that point. Right? You're lying in wait out there, little Cerberus, aren't you? And, of course, my NMM shadow is just, like, really being annoying. Please, can you work today, paint? Like, please. It's just that it's a Monday, guys. It's Monday. I'm going to do equivalent of about 2 drops of this, and I'm actually going to put 2 drops of Lantern Yellow. So if you don't have rich leather and you have no interest in purchasing it, even though it's genius, just saying. If you have NMM Gold Shadow, which is part of the core, you can create something that works similarly if you mix some Lantern Yellow into your NMM Gold Shadow. Wow. Yeah, I agree, Shadow Raven. I mean, sometimes you don't have a choice, right? Sometimes you gotta have the apartment, and you just deal with it. But yeah, it's a whole different ball game for sure. I think we first started, like, I moved out of an apartment and into a rented house back after about a year or 2 years maybe after I started at Reaper, and I've never gone back. I've lived in houses ever since until I moved out here with David and we lived in his apartment for a year to wait for the pandemic to be done, right? I guess a year and a half. But yeah, it was very stressful to me. It's stressful to me because I kind of like to just go about my own business and not worry about other people a lot. I try not to intrude on them or impact their lives in a bad way. And yeah, this just wasn't possible with this lady. Okay, so we can get something that's like a pale, like kind of ochre yellow, green ochre yellow, if we mix Lantern Yellow, 2 drops with NMM Gold Shadow. If I want to warm this up a little bit, I'll take russet or blackened or ruddy leather or ruddy brown and put a little bit in. So if I want this to be a little less brassy, because right now it's very green. This would be actually a pretty good good base coat for brass if you're looking to do brass instead of gold. It's a little green for gold. Gold is typically has some warmer hints, right? So like I said, russet brown, blackened brown, any of the warmer browns, ruddy brown or brown oxide, probably the best way to minimize that green because they're a reddish pigment. That would be really cool, Agent Marvel. I mean, the interest rates suck right now, but if you have good credit rating, you might be able to argue it down, or a big down payment. Yeah, minimal upkeep on an apartment. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the house does have more upkeep, but we've mostly got that handled at this point as far as just we've got so little like lawn, you know, we've got our gardener who comes once every 2 weeks, and that's enough to keep it up, and so we don't have to do a lot of that work. So we both knew we're such busy people, and we want to do our own thing all the time. So like getting a house with a big yard was just a no. Neither one of us had the energy. Kiki would love a big yard. She's going to like it. Oh, hey, Quindy, that reminds me. I'm good. I've scheduled my trip to see my parents. It is next week. I will be gone. Here we go. So next week, Thursday and Friday. So 16th and 17th. Those are the days I'll be driving to Arizona. And then I'll be driving back on the 20th and 21st. So I'll miss 4 days. And I'll be essentially spending, the second half of Friday and the first part of Monday with my folks, as well as the weekend. So Kiki and I are both going. Yeah. So you guys know, 16th and 17th, 20th and 21st. So from the 16th through the 21st, I will be out visiting my folks. Getting some family time in. And it'll be my opportunity to see how the Keekster is on road trips. So if I want to warm up this a little bit, I'll just take, this is Ruddy Brown, but you could, brown oxide is the equivalent. Take just a little bit. You don't want a lot. You just want enough to nullify that green look and get it into some, see how that changed it? It's not greenish anymore. Now it's warmer. If I kept going, I could get it quite warm and almost a reddish gold, but this is about what I wanted, so. It's a little lighter than rich leather, but it will do. Yeah, my folks are not getting any younger, and if I want to, I've already not spent as much time with them as I could have throughout my life, right? So, given that, actually this is close. If I look at rich leather up against it, it's maybe a little browner. But yeah, I want to spend time with my parents while they're both still healthy and, in good shape and able to like do stuff and, all that sort of thing. I'm lucky that they're in really good shape at their age. They both are very conscientious about exercise and staying mobile and staying active. So, but yeah, so I don't want to pass up times that I can see them, and since I couldn't see them over the holidays this year, I definitely wanted to go down to Arizona. Next year, I'll look at taking whatever the trip is going to be with the fam. I'll do that for Christmas. Because David's parents have had us for Christmas twice now. So it's that switchy, it's that switch-off thing, right? Oh, and I got I can use my Winsor Newton again because I amputated the springy hair. I did my video on brush care, and now I just need to finish the editing on it today and post it up for y'all who are patrons. My Patreon is patreon.com/paintingbig. And I forget what my $5 is going to be this month. I did have a topic. Definitely had a topic, but I don't. It's over on. I brainstorm topics usually in advance, so that I have a couple of months where I can just lay it out, and then I just have to glance at my schedule to know what I'm doing. I don't remember what my topic is this month. I kind of would like to also. I might do two things for the $5 tier this month because I did the Chimera colors, and I'd kind of like to do a little bit of an addendum on that because I've done more with them. And I kind of want to share what I've learned about them, but we'll see. Maybe I'll do 2 pieces of content this month. Yeah, more of a priority when they're having health issues. Yep, Kodiak, gotcha. Yeah, even without, we don't have kids, but, It's just, Mom gets to see her grandkids like all the warm part of the year. They're in Wisconsin, and they're close to my brother and his kids. So Mom spent a ton of time with the kids when they were growing up. So Lauren's away at college now, so I don't know what she'll be doing with her summers, if she is going to come home every summer. But Grandma's in high school, so. If that's like kind of my one like regret in always living so far from my family, is just that I didn't get to really like spend a lot of time with my niece and nephew when they were growing up. And I really like my nephew. He's awesome. So I still secretly hope he'll move out here and become a tech industry person. But I don't know that it's really in his, like, he wasn't even thinking. Great. It's funny. He's super smart, but he's super humble, my nephew. Like, he never even thought that he would be smart enough to, like, you know, go into, like, machine learning algorithms or anything like that. But he's, like, so advanced. Like, he was a freshman taking senior math. He's a good kid. Hopefully he, like, has a good start and gets to where he wants to go in life. I need to do some lining back here that I totally neglected. Yeah, pretty much my niece, who, you know, graduated last year, she totally took a lot of crap from her friends, because they're like, Grandma's in my senior math class. What? So, but yeah, he doesn't think he's special, right? He doesn't think that feel that he's impressive. Like, he was like totally not even, that wasn't even on his radar until he came out here, and I asked him if what he was gonna do with it, you know, if he was gonna go into math, and if he had thought about it, and he was like, I could do that. It was like a whole new thought for him. Hello, Moonglooms. Yeah, that's cool, Shadow Raven. That's great, because you could have a great close relationship then. Yeah, exactly, Turgeon, right? Oh yeah, I mean, I always use thinner paint, Moonglooms. If you need to add a little extra flow improver, when I base coat, if I'm doing chainmail and if the holes are really deep, I'll use a Taklon, like a synthetic brush, and I'll just jam it down into there. But also make sure you prime. You prime really well, obviously, because if you have any silver like down in the holes, the paint's not going to want to stick very well. But yeah, always use thinner base coats. I totally have a little bit of belt that I didn't paint, so I'm getting just a little bit of ruddy leather to paint that. Yeah, I mean, always use, not watery paint, but I mean 2-to-1 maybe. I usually honestly paint chainmail black or really dark gray before I go over it with lighter colors or metallics. So got just a little bit of belt here that I did not get. But yeah, it's just like painting the fur here, where I used a pretty thin. I used probably a 3 or 4-to-1 with the gray, and then I went back in with like the thinned down liner. I wouldn't use the brute force unless you have to, but like, you know, when you paint over the top, when you see those holes, just, you know, use your brush to grab a brush whose tip you don't care about, and just kind of poke them in. If you use paint that's the right consistency, though, you shouldn't have too much of those. Like, if you're seeing a lot of them, then your paint is too thick. Add just a little bit of water. Like, the paint should have, as long as you prime well, the paint should have no problem filling in those holes, except for maybe 2 or 3, and then you can just go boop, boop, boop with your brush. If you're filling in too many, if you're having to fill in too many with the brute force, then your paint is not thin enough. Turgeon, my firm release date is really dependent at this point on me getting my darn reader magnet done. So that's the goal this week. But the 23rd, because then it's 2/23/2023. I always will remember it. I want to always remember the date because it's my first book. So loosely, firmly. But yeah, it really is. I do need to, because I can't, like, I hit a wall yesterday. I started like reworking my website and getting it ready, and I just couldn't do anything on the tutorial I was looking at because I'm like, crap, I need the link for my mailing list reader magnet. I have to have that landing page. So without the landing page, I can't like do anything. So the 23rd, unless the reader magnet really takes a long time to get into done form, in which case, if its final form is like just I'm not liking it, I need to work on it more, then it'll get pushed off because if I'm putting out a short story to go along with my book in exchange for people's email addresses, I want that story to be good because I care about that sort of thing. Yes, I could just write a story and put it up, but I want it to be good. So I'm persnickety that way. Since I have a little bit of this ruddy leather, I'm just mixing it into my liner to make it a little bit more high coverage. It's going to lighten it a little, but that's not a big deal. Yeah, because everything else is done, Turgeon. The only thing that I need to do now is I do need, the other thing that could delay it, because I want the paperback to come out the same day as the ebook. Because the ebook I could fire off like now if I didn't care about the reader magnet stuff, but I still need the cover for Ingram's Spark. I have my print cover for Amazon, so I could release everything on Amazon, but I wouldn't be able to do Ingram's, which means that you'd have to get it from Amazon. And you couldn't order it through your local bookstore until I get that done. So, that's not a huge deal. I'm going to publish on Amazon first anyway, and then go over to Ingram's and do the thing. So if there's a few days between, it probably doesn't matter. I could just wait till like March 1st and publish on Ingram's then. It'll still be available on Amazon and in all the different countries that Amazon is in. But yeah, for worldwide, then I've got to use Ingram's, so I don't want Amazon's extended distribution. It's not, yeah, it is, but it's not like, not actually published yet, Turgeon. Like, it's not actually there. The front page is like, it's really in progress. So don't go to it yet. But yeah, it shouldn't be getting security warnings. It has like Bluehost, and it's got reputable servers behind it. But it is still not, like, it's not a firm site. Like, nothing is, except for the front page is published, and the front page is not even, it's just a skeleton right now. It's nothing. It has nothing going on. So yes, please don't go there. In fact, I did not really want anybody to say that. Yeah, if you want to. I kind of have wanted to work on it in secret without the pressure of having people go there. I kind of wish you hadn't mentioned it, but it is fine. I mean, it's not like I'm going to say it. You're not going to say it again, but yeah. I appreciate it. I'll get over myself. There's something in me that loves to work on, that prefers to work on things behind the scenes and to not have people see my nuts and bolts. I guess that's the same thing with the wanting to make everything good before I let it out into the world. You're fine, Turgeon. You're just excited, and I really love that you're excited. I do. It's just my little persnickety, like, perfectionist that wants everything to be wonderful before anybody goes, right? Thank you, Quindy. Quindy has deleted you. Nope, nothing personal. You can't unsee it. We're fine. It really is just my silliness that wants everything to be perfect before. And that's just like a major part of my personality. And sometimes I just have to get over myself, right? Yep. You have to, these days you have to have a website if you're serious about it. And I am serious about it. Like, I don't intend to stop. Like, I'm not one of those people who's going to put out one book and to say, oh no, it's not selling, and then just give up. Like, this is not my plan. I know that the first book isn't going to sell, so I'm just going to keep on until I get the second book and the third book and the fourth book. And then once the fourth book is out, I'll take a look at it, right? Mind wipe takes longer. Yes, it does. But yeah, I definitely have that perfectionist gene, and I've had to work really hard, and this will probably resonate with some of you. I've had to work really hard to keep my perfectionist gene away from my painting, right? Because the perfectionist gene is the thing that when a paint job isn't going to plan, will essentially just want to kick it to the curb and start something new. Oh yeah, that's true. But I need to have actual content up, Big Chimpo. I'm a little concerned you got a security warning, but maybe that's because it's really not, like, nothing about it is published, so interesting. Next, if you get a security warning again, though, once I launch it, let me know what it is, because it could be just something I need to address in the, like, back end. I'm not sure what would cause that. Like, I've done websites before, and I don't think I've ever had that. Yeah. Right. Yeah, and some people don't. Like, honestly, Big Chimpo, some authors just, they put up a site and it's meant to be a static, kind of mostly evergreen site, and they don't really do much with it unless they release a new book and they put that book up on it. Like, and that's fair because, just like with social media, websites are just yet another thing that's going to distract you away from doing actual writing. And the best thing for a writer to be doing always is working on the next book. So most of my site will be pretty, like, I have a blog on it, and I'll probably write some stuff, but I don't want it to distract me from working on the books. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, that's true. That's true, Turgid. Yeah, that'll end as soon as, I mean, it's all on Bluehost. It just needs to be, right now, all the pages that are drafts are, as you say, they're being parked on Bluehost in a temporary domain. So once they actually get published, they will go up. But as they say, you should not put something on the internet. You do not expect to stay on the internet forever, so I want these pages to at least be decent before they go up. And I was looking at them last night to see what I wanted to adjust. And it's going to be a very simple site when it goes up because, you know, I've got one book, period. So there'll be... eventually, I do want to put up some extras and little short fiction things. I may put up during the book, just like with Watership Down. One of the characters tells a couple of stories, and I kind of want to put up those stories because they're like fairy tales, except the fairy tales of my world. I kind of want to put up those stories on my website, just out of the book, just as if they were just themselves without the dialogue and stuff. But, yeah. Yeah, Google already knows it's there. That's because I did publish the front page. Yeah, do not mess with Quindy, Pendrick. Do not mess with the Quindy. Do not anger the Quindy. Do not taunt the Happy Fun Ball. There we go. So filling this in is adding more warm tones, right? It's warming up the figure a lot, adding this gold color that it will shade it. We'll take it darker, but we'll also take it lighter. But it's just letting me kind of see where everything is going. And I like the yellow. It's working well. I mean, the really dark blue purple, the cream and the yellow are kind of complementary to it, so that's good. Yeah, we're working on it. So once we get the hair in. And with the skin and hair, I'm really not departing for like the ruddy leather here. The skin and hair are really just going to be more of that, right? Because with red hair, it's going to be red-orange. And technically, a reddish brown is a red-orange, just one that's been darkened down a lot and muted. And then the skin is also going to be, you know, for those who read my skin tone thing on mixing skin tones from scratch, it's going to be pretty much a pinky orange, a pale pinky orange, right? So we're still, all of the face is going to be the same color as the leather. Yeah, he definitely has meistered a few burgers in the past, I'll tell you that. But yeah, right now I need to get today is Reader Magnet Day to totally like get as much blown in as I can. It's kind of interesting. I've mentioned this before, but I'm actually I signed up for some coaching, like coaching specific to writers, because I kind of want to, and it's the Clifton Strengths Program coaching. So essentially it's going to look at my personality, and what I'm hoping is they can give me a few suggestions of things that I haven't tried for like productivity and streamlining my process. So I'm kind of excited about that, but I've been kind of writing down like what works for me and what doesn't. And I haven't ever done that before now. I've been very willy-nilly as a writer. I've just been grabbing things and slotting them in and writing stuff and not really paying attention to my best practices, except for what I just kind of gravitate to or end up in. It would be kind of cool if you could do that with mini painting. I mean, I guess there's a lot of coaching out there for mini painters, but I don't know if there's like coaching that like breaks down your personality and gives you suggestions based specifically on you, right? Individualized coaching based on, not on your painting, but on your personality and how you might be able to leverage your personality in your painting. Yeah, he's going to be a redhead. But yeah, that would be kind of interesting, I mean, and neat. That's why I signed up for this coaching, because that's what they do. They essentially look at your Clifton Strengths assessment, which is a personality metric system. And they looked at what you're strong in, what types of strengths you have, and then they essentially help you create like, or a list of things that you can, that might work for you based directly on those metrics. So what might work for you based on your personality? It could be cool to see that in mini painting. Because, yeah, mostly when we coach, the last thing we ask, and maybe this should become the first thing that mini painting coaches ask, but the last thing we ask is maybe what's your process? What have you done in the past? What's worked for you in the past? What hasn't worked for you in the past? What tends to throw your productivity out the window? Stuff like that. Yeah, you'd have to have like take the strengths or take a test to kind of get you maybe could create a simple questionnaire. I think the strengths assessment is actually better though, because you can't overthink it. It actually flashes up two choices on the screen in front of you and you have to choose one, and there is a time limit. So if you hesitate too long, it skips it. And so you kind of just have to, it tells you just listen to your gut and choose what feels right in the moment, and you'd have to do something like that. Because people are bad sometimes at self-assessment, right? We all kind of like, we have blinders on. It's ourselves, so we have big blind spots. And personality tests like this are meant to essentially get you past those blind spots so that you can actually, see, right? But, I mean, your success or like, and it isn't even necessarily about like if you want to become a really good painter, right? Maybe you just want to paint more models and you're getting frustrated and you're not sure why. Then you take the test and it turns out you're a person who's really influenced by, say, external stress or external disruption. So then you can essentially, coach can essentially, waken you up to that and say, hey, the way for you to paint more models is actually to make a set painting time per day and fight for it, right? Make sure that it's like the same every day. Try to find the most predictable part of your schedule that's the least prone to disruption and paint then, right? Things like that. So that's definitely one of the things that a personality that can really affect you, right? I am very, very prone to that. Like if there's a disruption in my schedule, like my productivity flies right out the window. My ability to concentrate goes right out the window. I have to deal with the disruption or I can't do anything. Like, I am one of those people who likes things to be the same every day. That's where you just kind of have to let go of it and just hit a button, though, Pendrake. Like, and if you really can't choose, like, usually, I'll tell you this, I am also that kind of person who likes to think longer, but really you just got to go into it going, all right, I'm just going to see which one resonates the most, and I'm going to pick it. And if I'm really split between two questions or two things, then I won't. Then I'll just let it time out. I actually did time out on one of the questions because neither one of them, neither option really fit me. You know, and you're going to run into those. You just won't choose because, like, honestly, yeah. Then it wouldn't be the test for you. Then you should take a different test if you are interested in your personality metrics. There's lots of other ones. There's the Myers-Briggs. I retook the Myers-Briggs recently. And it's very interesting because I took it 20 years ago. And I remember what I got because I really liked like what I got, like was really felt right for me, felt true. So I remember, and now as I got older, I'm almost exactly the same thing, but I've moved one letter. One letter shifted a little. But otherwise it's all the same. So it seems like I'm still mostly the same person, but I've maybe developed a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't want to, if you're that type who just won't choose Pendrake, then yeah, it's not your kind of test. It's not your kind of test. I like these things. I'm very into self-actualization though. Like I want to become the best version of me. Like I don't want to exit my life like always wondering what I could have done if I would have, actually followed through on my dreams. That's why I'm doing this. I wouldn't have ever gotten to this stage where I'm making a living through my painting if I hadn't, been wanting to go that route. And so for me, personality tests are a way to figure out what's keeping me back, I guess, or find out a way that I can go forward better. But that's very much a personality thing, and not everybody's like that, and not everybody would even be interested in taking the test, and that's cool. Yeah, Big Chimpo, that's interesting because I think also that having your parents' example in front of you can influence that, right? Like my mom has never been judgy, but my dad definitely got more judgy as he got older, and I really don't like that. And so I think I've made an effort to not be that way. I was never terribly judgy to begin with, though, because I don't like people judging me, so I try not to judge other people. Yeah, your subscription is also just about over the hill now. Yeah, we've all been watching you guys. I can't believe you guys have been watching me this long. It's crazy talk. Yeah, I was a little stressed out when I took the test because I knew that I had to decide and I needed to decide, like I couldn't think about it too much. But sometimes that's kind of the point of it, though. If you think about it too much, then you're not getting really real answers in some cases. Because if you let your brain think too long, your brain is going to try to game the system. It's going to overthink the question. We all know that we are prone to overthinking in this hobby. Come on. The human brain loves to try to figure stuff out. Like, you wait too long and your brain is like, well, what is the best answer? Not what answer is true for me, right? No, Ballon, I don't think they're great for beginners. And the reason is they're very small. They're a true 25 scale, so the eyes are like almost impossible. And the details are really tiny because they've sculpted them really well. I mean, they're beautiful models. I still have like some of the heroes from Lord of the Rings from when they were published ages ago. But the tiny details and the tiny scale make it hard for you if you don't have brush control. So if you're going to pick up some of them, pick up something like the Cave Troll or a bigger model like Sauron. Something like that where it's larger and easier to paint at first. Because they are really small. They're a challenge for me. And they were significantly harder for me to paint when I was painting them. They were being released when I was working for GW, and so I did paint a few for my local store. But yeah, So they are quite delicate. Yeah, really, really. Now, if you already have good brush control, because maybe, I don't know, maybe you've just got good fine motor coordination, maybe you're just able to keep in the lines really well, then do them. Then do them. If that's, because when it comes down to it, if you're passionate about the subject matter, like you love Lord of the Rings and that's why you want to paint those miniatures, you're just going to do it. And so you may as well just go do it. Does that make sense? Honestly, Mac Attack, what I use to take Kiki out at night is a bicycle light. So it's USB chargeable, and it's to put on the front of your bike at night, and it's just like a little handheld flashlight if you don't put it on the bike. David had two. He got an extra one through Google Swag, and so I just asked him if I could use it as a flashlight. It's super bright because, of course, it has to be bright enough that when you're out in traffic, that cars see you. So that's what I use. Used to have like one that was super bright, like back at my old house, but I don't remember where my ex got that. So the bike light is what I do now, and it's nice that it's rechargeable. It doesn't run out of batteries; you just plug it in. I'm gonna go around these little gems as well with my liner. We're tightening things up and filling them in today. But yeah, I always liked the Lord of the Rings minis because I love the movies. But now what I got, I think I own one box of the Heroes from Two Towers. But otherwise, I have two of the 75mm ones that Night Models did, out of print now. But I have Aragorn and Boromir. Yeah, I don't know if it'll clip on. I mean, technically I'm sure you could rig it to clip on. I'm not sure how it fastens onto the bike, but you may be able to work something with that. If you're a MacGyver type. Figure out something. But yeah, it's definitely really bright. And if I have one complaint about it, is that it does run out of batteries. Like, it runs out of juice fairly quickly if you're using it continuously. But I mean, well, yeah, of course you got to look out for them. But David's like, I really appreciate bike people that have headlights and tail lights on their bikes because it does make them easier to see. Aragorn and Boromir, yes. Or Viggo Mortensen and Sean Bean. Alrighty. But yeah, I always mean to get around to painting those, but they always kind of get shoved off. The Night Model stuff often has casting flaws, and so I just haven't had the oomph. If I rewatch the series, which I'm bound to do at some point, then I'll be motivated to drag those out and paint them. It's not like they're that hard. They're just, they're 75 mils, so they're bigger. So I'm just blocking in some of the shadow here in the cuff. Oh yeah, you're fine then. Yeah, I would say look into those bike lamps. They the bike headlights. They're, at least the ones that David has, they're small. Like, they'll fit, like, if I hold it, it like is as long as my palm pretty much. So it's really handy. So it's really lightweight. All right, we've got our lining here. Got to do his shoulders. Then we'll get some skin tones on him. So we'll do our lining, and then we'll put our edge on there. Get my lining full on that. Ah, that one a little wide. So I just washed it off and went back in. If you are just fast, you can totally just take off the paint you just put down. Just hit it with a bunch of water and scrub it with your brush and it'll come off. It takes a minute to, takes a few moments at least to set. But yeah, I've been learning WordPress for my freaking website. It's very annoying. WordPress is annoying. But I'm getting there. Watching videos. Yeah. Yeah, they did a good, I mean, the concept artists did a great job designing all of the races in Lord of the Rings, to be honest. I have at least one Art of Lord of the Rings books. I think I have the Alan Lee one. There we go. Since the GW Lord of the Rings stuff is based directly on the movie, so really it's the less GW and more that they had great costume designers behind them and concept artists. All right, we almost have it all filled in, except for the skin. Yay, almost. Tactical flashlight. I'll try to remember that if my bike lamp goes out. Or if David reclaims it because his other one dies. Oh man, Kiki has gone from Cerberus to completely asleep. This bodes ill for the rest of my day. She's gonna have so much energy. Such the energy dog. All right, we now have all of our gold in. Now we can do our skin. Yeah, fully charged. Yeah. Alrighty, skin tones. Usually if I'm going to do a redhead, I look at rosy skin. Rosy skin is really made for redheads, in my opinion. I'm just kind of looking around to see where I put my rosy skin in here. Or if I've put it somewhere else and I have to go with a different color here today. Oh no, there's my rosy skin. Rosy skin is quite blushy. I'm going to probably... Where's my rosy skin shadow? I actually prefer, if I'm starting with rosy, I like to mix these two a little bit. Rosy shadow actually has a lot of pigment in it. It has pretty good coverage, so I may start with this and highlight with that. I like to start skin tones dark anyway, so... Yeah, I don't want to blind my dog when I'm out with her, so I think I'll stick to the bike. The bike one is honestly bright enough. Let me see if I can find a brand. 1 second. Let me see about the flashlight's just in here, so let me grab it. Good girl. So this is what my bike light looks like. This is the bike light. It's got that button that you push to start it, and then you push and hold it to take it apart, take it off. It's got kind of a bracket that you could, we just put the little loop thing on it, but you could do whatever. And this is a Urban 500 Light and Motion, designed and assembled in USA. So yeah, so like Urban 500. But yeah, it's bright. It's very, 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 very bright. I mixed Rosie with tan for Sophie for a lot of time. If you don't have Rosy Shadow, I would actually mix. I would mix a tiny bit of Ruddy Leather into Rosy. You want that more reddish color. It's not a perfect fix, but it would be close. I would do Ruddy Leather. No problem, Mac. Oh, we're talking specifically, I think, of the Lord of the Rings versions, Dogfather. I like some of the, like, I don't know about the dwarves themselves, but I like their cool, like, all the cool vehicles and stuff they've got in Age of Sigmar. All right, so let's start with Shadow. Yeah, put just a tiny bit in and kind of inch it down. I haven't looked at the Mantic Dwarves. All right, we're going to start with this. Maybe we'll even start by putting a little extra Ruddy Leather into it, honestly, if I feel like... I don't know that I need it. He's got so little skin up there, but maybe I will. I'll make it extra shadow. So I'm going to put just a tiny little smear. There. I'll back up and show you guys what I'm doing here. All right. So I have a little smear on the side of the palette there. I'm actually adding it to Rosy Shadow rather than Rosy itself. Oh, comic book style. Do you know, like, is it that it won't blend, Jack? Or can you break down why it's not working for you, the skin layering? Because it may also be the paint you're using. I'll tell you, a lot of other paint lines make it very hard to layer. Reaper is still the best, like, if I need to layer. This line is built for layering. But if you are using Reaper and you're still having problems, tell me why, what your result is, and maybe I can troubleshoot for you. Oh, blending problem. Blocky and patchy? Yeah, so thinner paint. Thinner paint, very little paint on your brush. I talk about, if you're using Reaper, I do have a thinning MSP paints video that's up forever on Reaper's YouTube. It's a class I did for ReaperCon. It's about an hour and a half, but it takes you through how much to thin the paint to get all different techniques, and that includes layering. And I explain why as well. Oh, AP. Yeah, so with a lot of other paint lines, because I've been messing with Chimera and Scale Color a lot recently, Scale Color Artist, but you have to thin a lot, and then the paint does tend to fall out of solution easier. I tend to thin, and I use Flow Improver for those paints. I won't use medium because that actually will retain brush strokes more, so I'll use water and Flow Improver. But you have to thin them way down, and even then sometimes, honestly. I was just trying to mess around with, what was it, Chimera, and even when I thinned the red to the point where it should have been a good layer, I still had to do wet blends to get the blend to go. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Army Painter is not, I mean, I don't know what their pigment count is, but they tend to be less expensive paints, and when you get less expensive, that usually means that you don't have a lot of pigment in there, and that can totally mean that the paint, and also the base, depending on the base, if it's meant for high coverage, but it's not meant for thinning, and if they're not adding additives to help with that, then will go chalky. Because, okay, so this is the deal. If you're getting blockiness, then it's not thin enough. If you're getting chalkiness, it's over thinned. So it needs to go somewhere in the middle. Like, there is definitely a sweet spot for layering. And it's like, I give people ratios, but I also give them kind of a wiggle room ratio, because it's going to change depending on the paint. Depending on the paint's opacity, how much white it has in it, and what the base is. It's going to all change. So I've only used the Vallejo Era metallics, but maybe, Jack, try them, see if you get better success with them. I was able to layer successfully with Vallejo model color back in the day before I created Master Series. It just took a lot of thinning because those paints are very thick. But the air paints are a lot thinner, so you should technically be able to work them kind of like Master Series. I would go for that. I would go for that over the Army Painter. They're going to be higher quality in general, and so they have more pigment in them, essentially. I was a fan of Vallejo before MSP. Now I find just they take so much thinning, I just don't use them anymore, but they are quality paint, and I definitely was able to get very smooth layering with Vallejo model color. So I can't think that air color would be a huge game changer. Yeah, I mean, I've got nothing really bad to say about Vallejo except that it does, like, you have to thin it a ton to get to layering consistency. It absolutely separates when you do, so you have to keep mixing it up. And like that's really that, and it doesn't have a high adhesion because they're going for coverage. But the air color is different again. So yeah, no problem. No problem. I haven't directly used the Army Painter. I'm just familiar with the brand in general from what other people have told me, Jack. So hopefully use the air and see if they'll work better for you. Hopefully they will. Fingers crossed. But yeah, there is definitely like, it's definitely a whole thin it, and then, oh, I'm still getting brush strokes, thin it, and then, okay, I went too far, right? Now I'm getting chalky. So then try to get just in the middle of that. There is a certain narrow range where layering is perfect. And after a while, you get a feel for it, for how the paint looks on the palette and how it looks on your brush. Do make sure you're using a smaller, thinner brush, probably. You don't want a lot of paint on the brush. Well, I mean, if they're Spanish, then yeah, that's how they pronounce it, right? Like, that's how you pronounce it technically, and they are a Spanish company. I don't know how they themselves pronounce their name. I've never met them. Ed did. He met them often at Gamma Trade Show. But yeah, no, that's what I'm here for, Jack. I'm here to answer questions. And because I have experience with various paint lines and experience with paint chemistry, even if I don't know the line, I can usually troubleshoot pretty well. But yeah, good luck. Good luck. Layering is hard until you, like, if you've done it enough, you just get a sense for it. Yeah. Yeah, you can still get pretty good skin tones with underpainting and glazing, but if you're looking for very smooth, like if you're doing female models, yeah, then layering is where it's at. Maybe even wet blending and layering, Jack. I don't know if you know wet into wet blending or if you do it already, but I do a lot of wet into wet for big, broad surfaces to set up an initial blend, and then I go back in with layering to refine it and just kind of make it better. Layering and glazing together are what you need, because a lot of times you're not going to get the perfect blend when you layer, but then when you glaze it, it'll tie everything together. That's why Sergio uses like the airbrush to glaze at the end. Anyway, there's so much information. But yeah. Underpainting can work for skin if you glaze heavily over it. Let me get you an example. I have an example. 1 second. Let me drag her out. Go settle. I will woke up the pup, but it's okay. So Jack, this model was done, and she's still safe for work. So this model was done with underpainting and going over the top of the glaze. But the glaze was very much a heavy wash, and then I went back in with some layering to pick out highlights and to accentuate, right? So you, especially for dark skin tones, I think it works quite well. So this was my present for David a couple years ago. Yeah, so like this was definitely a sketch. I used a burnt umber. Here, I've even got a picture of that. Hold on, let me go to my website real quick. And I think on my first page I've got a pic of this in, yeah. So when I started her, like I was using a burnt umber and white, and you can definitely see the brush strokes, right? So if I go real quick, you can see that. See that? Very rough. And so I was essentially going with that, and you can see the sketches, you can see the brush strokes. I'm very much blocking in on this. And then when I put my really heavy like wash over the top, then I was able to go back in and smooth out like those transitions. You can see now how I use layering to smooth out the transitions here and to also refine a lot of the shadows and do that stuff. So you can do, if you're used to underpainting and glazing, you can do it. And then take layering back in and smooth things out. And this model isn't perfect by any means, but I'm very fond of her. I like how she turned out. So yeah, but you can do it. It's absolutely doable. And this actually I did with a mixture of Scale Color Artist, so which is Scale Color's tube paint. The burnt umber I used for the underpainting was this. And then Reapermaster series. So yeah, this is my little, I like her a lot. So cool. So there's an example. So you can do it. It is doable to work with the techniques that you're familiar with, and then work, throw the, and I throw, this was a very heavy glaze. Like I would say it was almost a heavy wash. It was almost somewhere like a lighter contrast paint, a GW contrast paint. Let me put her up here again. Oop, there. That was how thick that first layer, because I had done such a dramatic, the more dramatic your underpainting, the heavier and thicker your glaze or wash or whatever, the heavier and thicker you're going to want that first hit. And then you take a paint like MSP or Vallejo that you can thin down a lot and get good layering with, and you do the refining techniques, and you glaze more, and you add shadows, that kind of thing. Yeah, whereas I always do water because I don't like how medium works. Although if you're airbrushing, it makes sense, right? But then when you go back in, if you go back in for layering, I find that medium actually makes brush strokes stay longer than water. Like if I'm thinning and I try to layer with just water, I'll see where it is. But if I add, like if it's almost perfect, but then if I add medium instead of water, it'll actually make the brush strokes more pronounced because the medium's actually holding the paint, I suspect, in solution a little bit better. So yeah, do your experiments. Some people do use mediums. Obviously, if you're airbrushing or if you're glazing medium works. Just work fast. Things like that. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, skin. So I darkened down the rosy shadow. I'm gonna paint actually over the whole, almost over the whole face. I just wanna, I can go back in and pick up his hair. I just wanna make sure all the skin gets a good coat on it. I did thin this, so I'm going to need to put a couple of coats on it. It looks light on camera, but it's actually, let's see. Yeah, it's actually, once it dries, it's going to dry a bit darker. It is the nature of rosy shadow. But yeah, the thing about good layering paint is that it's got to be thinnable, and it can't be like, it's got to have a component that's not going to fight you on it. Like some paint, which is really, really heavily going for coverage, if they're using pigments that go for coverage as well as the base itself, they can be really punishing to try to layer with. Like, I quickly lose patience when I try to use Chimera or scale color for layering. Like, I can do a very rough, but I can't get smooth blends with it. So if I'm working on a model that I'm going to do a lot of texture on, I can use those brands and enjoy it. Like, you know, this dude we were working on, I'm doing a lot of texture on him. Little froggies getting a lot of texture. He's a big druid dude. But as a different example for my Limbo miniature here, I wanted smooth, and especially you can see it on the legs, you can see it on the white, you can see it down here. All of this very smooth. That I will use Master Series. I actually set that up partially with Scale Color Artist, but then I ended up going to Master Series to do the thinnable part. I mean, Jack, almost every paint on the market right now, except for MSP, and except for like glazing mediums and airbrush mediums, almost every other paint on the market, maybe even every paint, is first priority coverage. So it's not that the paint is designed for single coat coverage. You still can't get that with a lot of colors. Even Vallejo that has, you know, really good coverage overall, or like Chimera, you're still going to get colors that are naturally transparent because that's the way the pigment is. No matter how much pigment you add, it's not going to change things unless you add white. So don't think of it as a paint is designed for X. Think of it as a paint has like maybe 3 priorities, and the first priority is X, right? So most paint lines right now for miniatures, because in general, gaming painters want coverage first, like they want coverage. So most of the lines out there are designed for coverage. And that means that they're automatically downgrading thinnability. Because if you're designing a paint to be opaque, then trying to convince it to be transparent gets harder. Make sense? So it's not that you can't use those paints to layer with, just that it's a royal pain in the butt to dial in. I just gave up. I decided that it was better to just do a rough layer and a glaze if I wanted to, and then use MSP if I wanted smooth layering. So pretty much every paint out there, their priority right now is coverage in 1 or 2 coats, right? Master Series will cover with the vast majority of its colors. Master Series will still cover in two slightly thinned coats. Like that's what I aimed for with Master Series. So it's not like it's like a bad coverage, but it's definitely made to take advantage of transparency. It's made to be a great glazer, and it's made to be a great layering paint. That's what I wanted it to do. And so coverage for me was second or third priority. So for me, it was thinnability, layerability, color, and then and only then coverage. So pretty much I flop with Master Series, and I designed the lines so I can speak this way. With Master Series, flip-flop the priorities, and you pretty much get what I was doing. And it's different from all other designers in the hobby right now. Yeah, and that's right, Garoth. That's another way you can do it, right? Is you can absolutely do the whole, hey, this is for this and this is for that, and that's what Games Workshop does as well. Is they use very specialized bases to give you the specific tool you need. I call that handing you a fish instead of teaching you to fish. But really, it's not bad because, as you say, that's, you know, if that's what you want, that's what you need right now, they give you exactly what you need to do things. You don't have to think too much, right? All right, I've got the skin at least blocked in up there, so I'm just going to go with the hair over it. But first, I'm going to not forget his hands. Right. Right, exactly. You're doing different goals, right? Different tools for different goals. So you are, Mac, you are the person that most modern paint lines are aiming for. They want to essentially give you something that's going to get your coats on really quick. And then you can just, you know, use your airbrush, or you can do whatever. You can put a wash on it and then use your airbrush. You can do whatever, right? Because you want a fast, decent result. But when you want to start layering and making smooth blends, that's when that system breaks down. That's when MSP is a handy, handy thing. And understand that you can still do all of this with every line. You should be able to. But trying to make a line perform at something it's not tuned for is hard. You can do it. I mean, I could probably find a way to make Chimera blend if I kept at it and I was layering. You know, I could probably find a way or a consistency or a medium or a something that would get it to work the way I want it to. But that would be an awful lot of work when all I need to do is grab my MSPs and they will get to layering consistency like that and they will perform perfectly for me. So, because they're made for that, right? So you can make MSPs cover, you know, and you can make, you know, but they'll never cover quite as well. And you can make a coverage paint layer, but they'll never layer quite as well. Because right now, the way that paint resins and pigments work, the nature of the beast, is that they're on opposite ends of a sliding scale. Can't tell if this is like a flaw. I don't think it's a ring. I think it is actually a flaw. I need to take a knife to that. I think we've been regularly, yeah, if Quindy, talk to Quindy LaRue. Quindy, did you see YGM there? We do know about it, YGM, and we've been like directing people to various ways to contribute via Jim's stream and stuff. But thank you for coming in. There we go. There we go. Yeah, we have links turned off on the stream. And Reaper did do a figure to benefit them, yes. Proceeds going to Kathy and Jim. So yeah. I think at this point there's a lot of good good ways to contribute. I think Jim has a link directly on his stream page, right? Or his YouTube, I can't remember. And then Dark Sword did a model, didn't they? Reaper did a model. So yeah. Thanks though. Thank you for one thing, thank you for coming into the chat and raising consciousness again, because every time you mention it is good because it reminds people that, oh, I contributed to that a while ago, but I haven't made a contribution lately. So thank you. Oh, okay. Sorry. Got it. I didn't realize it was the same mini. I just knew they'd done a mini. Is it Bones USA for Reaper? Maybe we should paint it on stream. That must have come out recently? Gotcha. Through Adepticon. Nice. Nice, YGM. Thanks. Hey, the more opportunities there are for people to contribute to that cause, the better, in my opinion. So that's awesome that you guys are doing that. I don't know if I'm going to make it to Adepticon this year, but my husband will. Oh, it's Bones USA? Okay, Quindy, maybe I'll get one then. Green Pirate, did you, I don't know if you use Reaper, but as I mentioned a bit earlier, but maybe you didn't see, but I do have a thinning MSP paints video. It's free on Reaper's YouTube. It's actually a class I did during the pandemic for ReaperCon Online. So it's like an hour and a half, and I go through using Master Series paint, and I run through how much to thin for each of the main techniques. And I talk a lot about it, including like brushes, types of brushes to use, I think. Man, it's been a long time since I've watched it. But, so I'm going to go in and line the fingers. Yep, Crowley, have fun. Thank you, Quindy, for the link there. mean, I don't know that I would do a charity stream. I would just paint the Kathy model on here, and maybe we could have a link to contribute. Like, just to, like, essentially to kind of take Jim's link to contribute directly. Like, I kind of believe in the whole give directly thing, so if there is, like a PayPal button or whatever Jim uses. But maybe we could do that. We could essentially paint the Kathy model on stream and then, you know, give the links. Give a specialized link or something. I don't know if that's possible, Quindy, is it? I guess that's a Justin question. Where if we wanted to, like, get the link to James's, like, direct contribute button or whatever. I don't know if they're doing a GoFundMe. But maybe we could do something like that. That's a Justin question. Yeah, run it by him. Like, if I paint the Kathy Mini, I'd like to be able for us to have just one link, like, whatever link, like, directly. I guess we could just link to the figure and just do the Reaper side of it but we can at least mention that there are other ways to contribute as well. But it would maybe raise awareness. I don't know how many extra people we have who stop into this stream, like how many different people. But it seems like we regularly get new names posting, so. It would be fun to paint, though. No, I never use airbrushes, Mac. But, I mean, Sergio does all his blending. Sergio Calvo Rubio does all of his glazing work with airbrush. But remember, I'm like a layerer. Like, layering is my technique. Like, it's what I've been doing for over 2 decades now. So it's what I enjoy. Although I find myself doing more and more wet blending lately. All right, so we've got our fingers lined. I need to clean them up a little bit. It got a little bit rough there. Yeah, sure, Green Pirate. It might give you an idea, even though if you don't use Reaper MSP, it may kind of give you an idea about the kind of the ratios to try with other paints too. Once you kind of, like if you know, okay, this is a good base coating consistency for whatever paint you use, you know, then maybe if I add X, like if I, you know, add double the water, maybe I can get that to, you know, this or, you know, things like that. It might give you an idea of ratios to try out. But yeah, MSP is definitely made for layering and glazing. That's really what it's for. As far as I was concerned when I made it, my thought is that I only need coverage for the initial stage, right? When I'm painting a miniature, all I really care about as far as coverage is the base coat. And there we go. So we're cleaning up the lining here a little bit on the fingers. And beyond that, all I want is thin paint. So for me, when I made Master Series, I wanted a line that would thin well, and I didn't care as much about coverage. It still had to have decent coverage. It still had to not be crap, but coverage was not the priority that defined the base we chose, for example, right? Or the pigments we chose. And that's why Master Series is such a different beast of a paint compared to everything else on the market. Is because layering was my bread and butter, and I really, more than anything, because back when I was first competing and stuff and getting good, all of us were really looking for like a really thinnable paint, like especially a white. It was really hard to find a good white that you could thin that would still stay in solution, but that you could thin down to the point where you could layer with it decently. And so that's how Master Series Pure White came about. It was that quest. And then since that became kind of like the priority, when you design a product, you should always have an idea of your goal, right? And that was my goal. Yeah, I haven't tried AK. I'm like I'm just not a huge fan of them as a company, like probably because I just don't do solvents, right? But I love their books. I love the FAQ books, the one with Kirill and Alan Krasko. Those are beautiful. I'm thankful to them for doing that. But as a brand, I'm not a huge fan of them. I can really do everything I want with MSP, and then, you know, for the pure pigments, I just reach for Scale Color and Chimera. I especially am, like, there are many ways I'm kind of fond of the Chimera paints. Like, they're definitely problematic on some levels, and I definitely have to switch to MSP at some points, but the colors are really nice. Oh, okay, cool. Well, I'll look at my next Reaper order then. Maybe I should make that sooner rather than later. I was just thinking I needed a couple of colors I'm running low on. So let me grab a sticky note and make a note to do that, because I'm sure sooner rather than later is ideal. So Kathy, waffle, figure. What's the SKU on that one more time, Quindy? Can you give me the link? There we go. So 01695. Thank you. Awesome. And I'll have to make a list of paints that I need. Sweet. Thank you so much, Quindy. All right, yeah, let's put that on the docket. I mean, I'm getting close to done on a couple models now, so I'll need more models, and I do have a few more that I want to paint, but putting Kathy in would be great. I would like that. I would really enjoy doing that for Kathy and Jim. So let's do that. Let's put that on the docket. Yeah, we're blocking in skin, Richard, today. You know, just do what works for you, Mac. And when it comes time, like when you're to the point where you've done your thing like a lot of times and you're perfect at it, but maybe, you know, you get a model that you'd really like to maybe try some new techniques on, or you really would like to get a different effect on, and your techniques aren't cutting it. That's when you learn. Never feel obligated to learn a new technique. Learn it because you wanna. Learn because you like have a new model that you'd like to try that technique on, right? Like, it should never be something you feel like you must or should. Don't should on yourself. Like, if you're enjoying the way you paint, then enjoy the way you paint. I just love getting good at stuff. Like, that's just a component of my personality. If I'm really into something, I want to get good at it. Like, it's just natural for me, but it's not natural for everybody. So, I mean, with mini painting, it's your hobby. Do what makes you happy. Like, if you want to learn a new technique, you know where to come. If you've got questions or if you're running into problems, I am here for you, but don't feel like you have to. If you're happy with what you're doing, then do it. All right, now this guy, we're going to use Oxide Red for the beard. So one of the tricks that we have, and Liliana Troy actually showed me this long ago. I didn't realize that it would work that well, but when you're doing it like a Carrot Top red, Oxide Red can be a very bright orange red. If you're doing those flame orange, like dwarf hair, you know, that kind of like red-orange dwarf hair that's super, super poppy. Oxide Red or Rust Brown, also 9072, which is pretty much Oxide Red with just a tiny bit of a white added to it. Oh yeah, we go through phases. Like, okay, so there's definitely also that personality trait that it's like shiny new is what we love, right? And that's like popping around between different things and learning to use them can be like that. So I have that a little bit too, Big Chimpo. Not as much these days. Like, I've kind of learned to slow myself down on that a bit, because what I realized is I was becoming like, I was dabbling in a lot of things, but I wasn't really getting entrenched enough to really get a lot of value out of it. I started wanting more to kind of explore the new things I was trying. That's why, even though I picked up Scale Color Artist like 2 years ago and messed with it, right? And then I just got the Chimera colors and I'm messing with those now. And I'm like, there's a new paint line out. I don't remember what the brand is, but I'm not going to pick that up. I'm going to just, because I'm having fun with my Chimeras and there's still a lot I have to explore with them. So yeah, like I used to do that with the kitchen too, like as like looking at different things to do different stuff with, and it took me a long time to actually get an air fryer, and now I love it, but I'm not tempted to get any other new kitchen appliance because I'm still exploring the air fryer. I feel like I haven't nearly found all the good things that it could do. So If it brings you joy though, to like just go running around like crazy and try all the things, like do it. As long as your budget can handle it. My budget couldn't handle it. Right. Yeah, I would say that my writing is a lot like that. That's why I took this coaching cohort that's coming up next week. It starts 1 week from today. Is like I've run around and I've tried all sorts of different things as a writer. All sorts of different processes. I've tried, like just winging it. I've done extreme plotting, I've done partial plotting, I've done different systems. I've done all this stuff, right? Run around. But now I really want to find the system that is going to work maybe the best for me and really learn it, right? So yeah, I think there's a natural point, like for a lot of us, where we bounce, and then we're like, enough! I need to actually do things. All right, I'm going to actually use combo of brown liner with this rust brown. Rust brown is that color, oxide red, sorry. I'm going to try the straight up oxide, and if I find that it's like not quite covering enough or I'm not getting the right color, yeah, air fryer is so cool, isn't it, Pendra? You can do so much in it. But yeah, if I find that it's not the right color for me, then I will go and add a little bit of white to it. Yeah, exploring recipes is so much fun. I'm exploring, I didn't get a new cookbook, but I did get myself a subscription to the New York Times cooking section, and I'm having so much fun with that. I've already made a couple things that I know are going to become regulars. And it's already turned me on to spices that flavorants that I might not have ever tried. Like Chinese black vinegar was my new one. I got it for my Szechuan, my Kung Pao shrimp. But now I want to use it in all sorts of things. Because it's a really different vinegar. It's really neat. Yeah, air fryer's so good. So that gives you that very poppy, super pop, bright redhead, like carrot top redhead look, right? And we'll shade it a bit, and it'll get a bit more natural and a little less cartoony. Writer's block is different for everybody, okay? Like, and now we're back to personalities again, right? So learning really like writer's block, and it's interesting. My favorite writing pontificator just put out a whole book and a deck of cards for busting through blocks. But it very much is like, for example, one of my things is that I have to think about something for a while before I can really put it into words. So if I'm blocked, the answer is usually I just don't know enough. I need to just go take a walk and think about it, and usually I'll get the answer. So that will unblock me even if it takes a couple days of walking and thinking. But other people aren't like that. Other people get blocked for other reasons, right? So yeah, it's like weird. So Chinese black vinegar, they use it in dumpling sauces a lot, but that it also is a key component in Szechuan, like Kung Pao, which is actually dong. I don't remember how to say the word. Donggao, I think, is how you actually say it. But yeah, it's like American recipes will tell you to use balsamic vinegar instead. And that's close, but balsamic is made with grapes, grape must, and the black vinegar is actually made with rice. And balsamic is cured or set to age in barrels, right? And the black vinegar is set to age in clay pots. And the flavor is just, I can't even describe it. Like, it's more sour, but it still has a bit of that heaviness, that kind of a little bit of the sweetness of balsamic, but not, enough so that you can use balsamic, but it's not quite the same. It's really interesting. Yeah, yes. Yeah, super malty, smoky taste. Yes. I had never discovered it before Big Chimpo, but it was in my New York Times Kung Pao shrimp recipe. And I'm like, so I ordered some, right? Because that's the great thing about Amazon and the internet these days. You can order this crap and get it. And I ordered the aged one, and I just love it. I'm like, I gotta use this somewhere else. I should have used it in my teriyaki last night. Even though that's Japanese, I'm sure it would have actually given it a bit of a different tone. Yeah, that's what I use right now is the rice wine vinegar. That's what I typically use for teriyaki. But yeah, this Chinese black stuff is a whole different flavor because the rice vinegar is very thin. It's more like a traditional white wine vinegar or apple cider vinegar, right? It's really thin and watery. And the Chinese black is a little bit different body and very different flavor. So yeah, I would say that my my New York Times cooking section subscription is working out well for me. Like, I think I will absolutely keep paying for it. It's about $40 a year, but I've gotten so many good recipes out of it so far, and it's only like February. They're totally different. Yeah, I know. I started late. Oh, sorry, Quindy. Well, let me finish this side of the red hair. Quindy's crossing her legs. Her eyes are turning yellow. I must not torment you that way. So we'll finish our base coat super quick. Yeah, a lot of people do want just the magic bullet that's going to get them past writer's block, but it always is a process. It's always figuring out why. Why are you blocked? And there are as many different types of blocks as there are different types of people. But for me, it's definitely I need to just stop and back off and like think about it. Either I need to brainstorm, just loose right brainstorming stream of consciousness on a sheet of new paper, or I need to go and take a walk and just kind of ruminate on it. And that's always my block. Either that or it's something that's really wrong with my story, that I've got a scene that I thought I needed to write, but that it really isn't the right scene. And again, I just need to stop and think about it. Alrighty. We have very, very bright red hair on him now. We've got our skin blocked in. Let's go back. All right. So if I want to, I'm going to darken down his hair a bit, you know, with some shading, obviously. I could use the ruddy leather to build those shadows. And then I could even thin down a bit of the oxide, mix it with some ruddy leather, and do highlights onto the leather if I really wanted to pull these together. But they're not going to clash because they're both orange reds. They're just, this one's had black added to it and that one hasn't. Yeah, for sure. Quinny's doing a run happy dance and hurry up lyrics, yep. I think you only see it in the Kung Pao. Like, when I looked up other Kung Pao recipes, it did, American sourced ones, they did say balsamic vinegar. I was like, oh. But I ran into that too when I was learning to cook Indian, because like Rick Stein's book, which I love, Rick Stein's India, is my Bible for Indian cooking because he gives you the actual Indian ingredients. Yeah, you've got to find them. And a lot of American cooks wouldn't want to have to. They'd want to just use whatever. So now when I go look at my other Indian cookbooks that have been written specifically for Americans, I get frustrated because I know they're giving me equivalents and they're not giving me the actual spices because they think it's too much of a pain to get black cardamom. You know, that kind of thing. All right. Yes, sure. No problem. Yeah. That is cool. All right, so next time we will integrate. We'll get shadows on the skin tone and the hair. But I'm really happy with this. The colors are looking great, I think, together. He's getting a personality now, and I really enjoy it. Oh, yeah. Yes, Big Chimpo, especially for people who are allergic to garlic. Asafoetida. Which is like, I tasted it and I was just like, yeah, if I had a reaction to garlic, I could use this and it would give roughly kind of this, you know, it would give a similar flavor. So yeah, bye, Turgeon, bye. All right, let us pull it there, call it there so that Quindy doesn't turn yellow. Oh, tomorrow is. Oh, yay! I just get happy when it's time for this model, guys. I just get happy. Because I'm really happy how she's turning out. Like, I'm really, really happy. So yeah, so I love yellow. So tomorrow is yellow. Yellow day, guys. Yellow. Yay! And I hope you all tune in, and happy Monday. Let's hope that it's a relatively pain-free day for the rest of the day. All right? I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, everybody. Run, Quindy, run.